On one hand, we have everything in the world. There's stress, uncertainty, anxiety. The world's changing, can change in a minute. What do? Financial stress, lockdowns, all this stuff. On the other hand, we have inner peace, grounding, spiritual confidence, health, and inside out perspective. We already know what this feels like. My question is, do you want more of this? Hi, I'm Dr. Fred D. Domenico.
I'm Dr. Douglas D. Siena.
And this is Resurrecting Our Freedom. And the reason we have this is the world is burned down around us already. There's so much change and unpredictability and uncertainty. And we give this, bringing the information, the leaders, the interviews, and the power and the inner confidence to be able to stand up, rise up out of the ashes, and let's create a new world together. So I'm fired up because this is really the principle about what we're going to talk about. Outside in, man. Every time we look outside, if we identify with what's going on outside, there's stress, there's change, there's unpredictability, unfamiliarity, uncertainty. Yet, what do we experience inside? It's such a fragile identity and existence to identify with what's outside, because what's outside not only will change, it will crash. And if you crash with it, our family goes, our life goes, our health goes. Everything begins to break down.
Exactly.
But when we live from the inside out, it doesn't matter what happens on the outside, because everything on the outside is going to change. But if we have the power and the confidence, the stability and the grounding on the inside, all this too shall pass. That we can make it because we're healthy, we have inner peace, we don't have divorce, we don't have strife in our relationships. We can change or adapt financially. Everything can change to our benefit. And that's what today's really about.
I love that. That's when we are centered. We're centered basically from an above down, inside out. It is a spiritual concept. To me, it's like this. It's like there can be winds blowing in all different directions. But when you're sailing a sailboat, what matters is, do you set the rudder in a direction that you choose to go into? That rudder does not change. That is set deep. The winds of adversity can blow, but that will not change the direction or the course of your life.
Well, and here's another really powerful metaphor, because we look at the whole ocean. Right? And when there's storms and wind, there's waves, but that wave is part of something that's way bigger.
Right.
And so, yeah, the waves may crash and they come over the bow of your boat, but we're sailing in a whole ocean. That's like universal consciousness. The world can change, the winds can blow, but those too shall pass, because we're in a whole universe that is made and created from a loving energy, and we are part of that universe. So what we want to talk about today is how to live from above down, inside out perspective.
It's such a principle. It's a principle that you and I live our lives by. It's what we do. It's what our profession is. It's a lifestyle choice.
Well, yeah, and how did we start? I mean, we're both Italian, traditional Italian immigrant. Look at that profile. Look at these profile, man. Not straight on, right?
You turn my head that way.
Wait, let's not turn in the same direction at the same time. We may have like a nose sword fight. Yeah, you turn one way, I'll turn the other way. It's like, whoa, I didn't know we were that close. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is, hey, when I was raised, we prayed for everything. We practiced religion on Sunday, but I'll pray for this, pray for that. My grandmother, man, oh my God. I don't think I'd be, the only reason I'm alive is because of my grandmother and my mother's prayers, especially an Italian grandmother, right?
Right.
Guilt and shame and what are you doing? But I love you. I pray for you, you know.
If we all grew up with Italian moms or grandmothers, we know what that's like.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing, though, I have to say, since my mom's no longer here, at the end of the day, they did love us.
Unconditionally.
And that love, I think, covers a multitude of sins. So I'll forgive my mom.
It was a godlike love, and I feel very fortunate to grow up with that, because not everybody grew up with that, but that's still an outside-in perspective. Yes, so that's another issue.
So the question is, where does one find peace and serenity and joy?
Well, that's a great question. So now I read this article the other day, 44% of Americans, because what's outside of us is so unstable, 44% of Americans that never turned to religion now are seeking God online. They're seeking spirituality. Why? Because we've already experienced the stress from outside. And now I started the whole Catholic story because, we always grew up with prayer. So I know for myself, everything that I've been through, where everything was crashing around me. I mean, in business, you run into I went through a divorce and near bankruptcy. I went through my wife passing away with cancer. You have these things in your life where it's like the mountain in front of you is so big that if I didn't know that God was in front of me, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, and I'm saying this as a true personal testament, my own personal savior was my spirituality. That saved me through some serious things. And I always say, I can't quote the biblical site, but you can, probably the verse, is you can cast a mountain, if you believe, you can, with a word, you can cast a mountain into the sea.
Right. If you have faith the size of a seed of mustard
seed, yep. Which is
you
really
can say
small,
to that mountain, move, and it shall move.
Ooh, there you go. Look at that. He's always expanding. He's the smart one in the group. That's why we have him on there. I'm just here shooting my mouth off, and he's like, no, that's actually not correct. Let's do this. Excuse me. Okay. I'm just a big mouth. You're actually smart. So we compliment each other somehow. We're trying to figure that out. Just don't look at each other at the same time.
We'll hit him.
So what's the bottom line? Now, then that carries us through. Then there's chiropractic.
Right.
Because what's chiropractic? The foundation of health and life in your body is the spine and nervous system. The brain sends energy through the spinal cord, through all the organs. Every cell in your body is dependent on life force energy. That's who we are. We go to spirituality. Genesis 1:27, we're created in the likeness and image of God. That image is not our physical body. It's our spiritual body. It's our spirit. That spirit life force energy is in our body. That's our spirit. That's what heals, right? And physically, our nervous system heals. So we learn spinal alignment has a lot to do with that. Now, what confidence does that give us? Man, I know my health is different. I mean, before chiropractic, you had troubles breathing. We've told your story before. I had allergies and problems. I grew up with headaches and all these things that I attribute the fact that we are both going to be 60 basically in a month, 6 weeks. And we're going to be 60 years old. And the level that we live at, I devote to spirituality, staying young at heart, young in mind, and definitely chiropractic.
Correct.
There is no question. So to be able to take care of ourselves spiritually, be able to take care of ourselves mentally, to have a purpose that we continually move towards.
High intentionalities.
High intentions. And to be able to have the physical capability for spirit, mind, body model. Now, one thing I can say is so many people live in fear of coronavirus. Now, I wrote a book that I don't have. It's called Back to Health. You can go to Elite Coaching LLC and get that. It explains medical research of the relationship between posture, the nervous system, and the immune system and overall health. So I know as long as we stay under chiropractic care, which is every week, that it doesn't matter what new strain of virus comes out. Even though it can be genetically manufactured, even though I doubt they would manufacture a virus that would actually kill off a third or 50% of the population. But it does, even if it was that, I know that I'm safe.
Right.
That inner confidence to know that whatever's on the outside is not near as big as what's inside. Not just because of chiropractic, but because of my spirituality, because I know I have a life purpose. And here's the thing. I'm going to disrupt myself for a second.
Really?
Sorry, I'm doing all the talking. That's my ADD jumping around like this. But when I was young, I knew spiritually I have a purpose. We're all here for a purpose. And if you have a purpose and you're committed to that purpose, you're under the wing of protection.
Right. God's
going to protect you. And if you have faith, you're a faithful servant. You love and serve His children to the best of your ability. You're committed to evolving and raising your consciousness. Bad things don't happen. Now, are there bad things that happen to good people? Absolutely. There's no question. And I'm sure you know people that's, oh my God, they live such a great Christ-like life and things happen. I can't explain those.
Neither do I.
There's no way I can explain it. Everybody's on their own journey with God. I had a wife that passed away with cancer that loved Christ. I can't explain that, although I do understand her emotional condition. I have the personal belief that God surrounds me, that I'm going to be protected, and we are going to fulfill our life purpose.
Well, there's a promise in the Bible. I'm just vibing off of what you're saying right now. And it says that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So I claim that. I own that verse. I'm going to claim that as truth because it is. And because I own that, that is one of my rudders, if you will. So when there's this new virus coming out, do I have to think to myself, am I afraid of this new virus from the outside in? Or can I have this thing called an immune system? Do I have the strength within inside of me that can compete with anything on the outside? And the answer is always yes.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 28:2, your enemies come at you one way and they flee 7 ways. Psalm 91, right? No arrow by night, no plague, something like that by day. 1,000 fall at your left hand, 10,000 at your right. Psalm 23, you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? You don't build a house there. He sets a table. You sit at the table with your enemies, and you're protected, right? He puts you by green pastures near still waters. Those are metaphors for calmness. And so the thing
Can I
is,
just vibe off on that 1 second real quick? But also it's a choice. So like the Bible does say that I give before you life, I give you death, I give you cursings, and I give you blessings. So
it's power of the tongue, right?
My hands can't. There is power in the tongue. In fact, the Bible says that in the tongue there is life.
Right.
So it's so important of the path that we choose. So the choice is intentionality.
Yes.
So we choose and then we manifest.
Correct. Exactly. Now, here's the thing. Does this mean that we're not going to go through extreme challenges? Not at all. I'm not saying, and I don't, and again, power is in the tongue. So I don't want to say, well, bad things happen, because I don't look at bad things. I look at things happen that take us along our soul purpose that could be very challenging. Mm-hmm. But because of these belief systems, I know they're temporary. I know there's a big lesson in it for us to evolve, that there's a gift in every pain. Mm-hmm. No matter, and watching my wife take her last breath was far beyond. I mean, I've been through some painful stuff. That was like 1,000 times more than anything else seems insignificant. Yet it was the greatest gift in spiritual healing that I could have experienced. So, and we've all been through these, right? So does it mean we're not going to have extreme challenges? Hell no, that's not at all. But because of those belief systems, we find the gift. We learn the lesson. It helps us raise our consciousness to get, when we get through that challenge, it actually broadens and deepens our faith in God, because we know we're going to get through it. And on the other side, our faith and our courage is greater than it was.
So what you're saying is, through the trial, your faith grows, and as your faith grows, you become a stronger person.
Exactly.
It's kind of like why you go to the gym. Right. You know you intentionally lifting a heavy weight to stress out.
Look at this, dude.
I want to get arms.
You started CrossFit. Dang, let's just roll these sleeves up right here while we do this podcast. Just one of them. I just want to stare at that.
I can't.
Sorry. So we're building your faith. That's what you're saying. With every challenge, you build your faith.
Yes. So of course, we don't look for trials, but at the same time, the idea that what the challenge can do for us, that trial can actually make us stronger. It can make us stronger in our faith. It can give us more courage, because again, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to go through the fear with a sort of steadiness and a faith that we all have.
Right. Exactly. So I also want to say, does that mean there's not stresses during the day? Every day there can be stresses. And my perspective is, when someone says, are you having a great day? The answer is always yes, because we may have moments of stress. I may have moments of anxiety, but we don't carry that through the whole day. And how do we do that? Through our morning rituals.
Right.
I mean, I have about a 45-minute morning ritual that it's spirit, mind, body rituals.
I actually have a book, and I think we talked about it on the last podcast. I have a morning ritual and I have an evening ritual, because I know for certain I'm going to start out my day amazing. I'm going to end my day amazing. And like life kind of happens in the middle of it.
Yeah, it does.
So, but again, that's all outside in circumstantial. So that's like the different winds blowing. The fact that the wind can go from the east or the west, it doesn't stop me from sailing north.
Exactly. Nice. We like north. And that's really it. So that, I mean, that's one thing, daily rituals. So there is.
You kind of briefly talked about chiropractic. Can we just touch on that a little bit more? I think it's so amazing that what we teach and what you teach to other. I touch people individually, and what's awesome about what you do is you, in essence, heal doctors who touch others. So you have this huge kind of net of just benefit that you can just help so many more people than just sit in one office. So I honor you for that. But the point is at the essence of what we do, I was talking to a patient about this just last night, is, we reconnect the physical with the spiritual. And when you reconnect the physical with the spiritual, you are far more powerful than you think.
Yeah, powerful than you think, right?
Quote your
Wonder
book.
where you're going with that one.
So the idea, though, how beautiful is that? So then we look at things from a spiritual, eternal perspective, and we're not looking things from a circumstantial perspective. That's a huge paradigm shift.
Well, let's go through, how do you connect spirit man with physical man? And why is that chiropractic? Well, I don't understand how that is. Well, first of all, I mean, I can get a little intense on this, but you are an energetic system, and actually your nervous system, electrical wires have electromagnetic force. So our life force, we are actually an electromagnetic force. So when your spine is aligned and balanced, the ability for that electromagnetic force to flow through your nervous system is much greater and unobstructed. Mm-hmm. But the minute your spine goes out of alignment, it actually changes not the mineral distribution in the bones, it changes the ionic charges in the bones, it disrupts the electromagnetic force around the spinal cord and disrupts your whole energy. So now things begin to break down. I mean, that's when you get into the state of dis-ease, right? That's the state of disease. But when your spine is in alignment, the whole electromagnetic force, life force, universal energy that we are immersed in, now, I used to use this metaphor, our spine is like an antenna. Mm-hmm. It actually, now you have all universal life force moving in your body. Not only does your body heal, you have more energy, you have more youthfulness, your whole consciousness begins to shift. And so this is a much bigger picture. One of the founders or the developer, B.J. Palmer, wrote a book, right? Bigness of the Fellow Within. And that's really the principle.
Right.
Is an adjustment may be a small thing. However, aligning with the whole universe and shifting the consciousness of a person is a big thing.
It's a much bigger concept than we can ever imagine. And it goes both ways, right? When the nerve system is integrated, when that power is on, as we say, we see the universe through the lens of the nerve system. So when we have a stressed out, distorted nerve system, we see a world that's distorted and stressed.
There's an outside-in principle, starting from the inside out.
Right.
So what's the...
I just have to say, really, everybody, and I passionately mean this, I was on the phone today with a mother who did not want to bring her kids in. Like, she's okay with... I just can't understand this, Dr. Fred. Like, how would you come into my office and then not want to bring your baby in? It doesn't make sense. So I was on the phone with her today, and I said, help me understand. Because if this subluxation is destroying, she came because she couldn't digest food.
The baby.
No, the mother.
The mother.
It wasn't a back thing. And she's like amazingly well. And I said, we need to get the baby under care. And the reason why she called me is because the baby started getting eczema. So she wanted to know, what kind of nutrition can you do for that? I'm like, what kind of nutrition? The baby's probably subluxating.
Developing an autoimmune problem.
Correct. So
Right.
How about we start with the core, the basics, and that is integrating, turning the power on, letting the spiritual and the physical, and then we can sit back and watch miracles happen that I see every single day.
Well, and how many people, I mean, I practiced for almost 15 years. I can't even count how many people bleeding, scaling, eczema, their skin busted open, bleeding, and we adjust them.
Right.
You fix their spine and you watch these patches heal up, and there's nothing left where there was scars.
It's like the shingles guy today
Yeah.
at the park.
It's crazy. It is so amazing, and it's such a gift. And I'm hoping that one of the manifestations that you and I can create as a result of these podcasts is we get more subluxated people under proper neurological corrective chiropractic care.
Well, now let's go. Now that we're talking a little bit about healthcare, or a lot, let's go with an outside-in perspective. First of all, let's look at vaccinations. Now, this isn't going to be a vaccination talk, but I just was on a coaching call today. And the office manager of a doctor that I'm working with, grandmother, 88 years old, lives by herself, independent, drives, does all that stuff. And he said she's really funny. She loves to drink beer. And her daughter brought her to the doctor and said, Mom, you have to get vaccinated. You're 88. You have to get vaccinated. And it was funny because the medical doc said, which one do you want this? Which arm do you want this in? And the woman popped off and said, put it in your own arm. And her daughter, like literally, Mom, you have to take this. Gave her the vaccination. And now this healthy 88-year-old woman 1 week later is throwing embolisms, meaning she's got blood clots that now are circulating through her. Now she's on her deathbed. She may not even be alive for another 24 hours. So when you look like that's outside in, and we're going to go on another podcast of the studies that show the immune system that God gave us gives up to 8 months. Any reinfection, it's already done. Vaccine can't even guarantee that, right?
Correct.
They can't even say the first dose doesn't even last 21 days. Your own immune system gives you 8 months as opposed to an outside in. Does God know what you need to get through a virus more than man?
I have so many thoughts coming through my mind on that, but I just know that we'll quote B.J. Palmer again, who says, do you have more faith in a spoonful of medicine than you do in the power that animates the universe?
Exactly. How do you want to live? Now, when you believe, when you practice the universal power moving through you, that you are divinity first, that we're spirits, Wayne Dyer, you're not a human on a spiritual journey, you're a spirit on a human journey. And when we believe that, then we realize everything that you see on the outside is temporary. Mm-hmm. And the laws of the universe, you can't change the laws of the universe. They go one way, man. There is love and there is fear. You shine the light on the dark. Darkness dissipates. It does not exist. So what we're seeing today is the curtain's gone pulled back. We're looking at the dark. People get immersed in the dark and they get worried about the dark, but we don't realize that we are light. We are enlightenment, that God wins, that this is all going to work out, that evil cannot exist in the presence of God. And the presence of God is everywhere, and that presence is never absent in you.
Right. The Bible says we are to be salt and light of this world. Now, by the way, that's another reason why I love, that's a great, by the way, what you just said. I don't want to jump on that.
I want some acknowledgement.
So I love the term subluxation. I know it doesn't mean this, but if we consider the word lux means light, that when we are sub less than light, we are not expressing that full light potential, that because again, we are spiritual beings. We are light, right?
Right.
And when we are at our best is when we are vessels of that light. And when we're vessels of that light, we colonize light.
Now, how do you be a vessel of the light? Because if you already are, how do you express that? Through consciousness, through awareness, through putting that in your conscious mind as well as your subconscious mind as a belief system, to bring that into your conscious mind and then practice it daily. And the thing is, really, you are what you habituate. Do you have spiritual rituals? You start your day, you end your day. Because I do the same thing. I have spirit, mind, body in the morning. So just real quick, hey man, I take these drinks with all these powders and herbs and all these things, right? And then I go do that's part of body, and then I do some rehab in the morning, right? I warm up my spine and do spine exercises. We go to the gym, but then I read A Course in Miracles. I read the Bible. I go through 3 spiritual sources every day. And then I'm ready, man. Then I go to the gym, man. I'm fired up. It's like, I've already made my bed, right? I've done nutrition. I've warmed up my spine. I've done my spiritual work, and you work out. It's like, shoot, anything else is a bonus.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, so then you have life during the day, and sometimes at the end of the day, it's like, whew. I never say, man, I'm glad that day's over. I never end a day without gratitude, because those stressful moments, they pass with a perspective. So the question is, what did I learn from this, and what am I going to do? And then let it go. Stay in present time, because you can change your mind, change your perspective, change your whole day. You know, you talk to some people, well, this thing happened in the morning, my day's ruined. Really? It's 12 noon. How do you know what's going to happen? We got another 10 hours.
Right.
The whole world can change in 5 minutes. So what is your spiritual perspective?
I love that.
So what are activities that people do, or things that they engage in that would set you up for a bad day? Well, that's the whole mental, spiritual, body thing. So what do? First thing I think is turning on the news, right? Because we don't even need to get into mainstream media. The second thing is putting more priority on your phone. So, and as I was saying, I look at my phone every morning, but by the time I'm done my rituals, that doesn't matter, because I'm already in a new state. So, but people focus on that, and then what do? I don't know. What do you eat for breakfast? How do you move your body? How do you get your physiology and your brain tuned up in the morning? You know, I don't know. What else would you do? I don't know. I don't think it's a matter of what you do that's really the question. I think the question is, what are you not doing to make yourself great? There's 8 million things you can do to get depressed, and there's very specific things that you can do to make yourself great. So let's reverse that question. What are you not doing?
I love that. I'm just going to let that land on people. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, and I also know that 98% becomes a problem, because the 2% creates inconsistency. Like I know, Dalton and I go work out in the morning. I know you know this. How many mornings out of 10 do I feel like getting up, going to the gym, lifting heavy, working, running stairs? How many times out of 10 do I feel like that? Do I want to do it?
Right.
What's in the middle of this?
Right.
I don't ever want to do it. I would much rather sleep for another hour. I'd much rather be lazy. I'd much rather do that. But the problem is, when you know how you feel when you're done, I'm unwilling to give up that state of mind and state of physical body and state of spirituality, because the rest of the day is different.
100% of the people, 100% of the time, this is a law, that when you do an act of discipline that's beneficial for you, even though it may be uncomfortable at the moment, after completion, you always feel better about yourself and the day. Always.
That's right.
Always. I never feel better about myself when I sleep in. I don't feel better.
I do on the weekends.
Well, when I have
I feel absolutely fantastic.
Well, I'm specifically talking
Not
about
during the week,
on a
though.
day when I know I'm training that day.
Yeah.
The day where I F it. I just don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel good. You feel good about yourself when you follow through those things that you called morning rituals.
Well, and here's the thing, gang. When you're on that at least 5 days a week, then if Saturday or Sunday, I love sleeping in the morning. I don't work out. It's a rest day. My whole body's sore when I get up on Sunday morning. I absolutely love taking my time getting out of bed. I absolutely love the fact that I don't have to work out, because what I've done for 6 days. Now, if I don't want to do anything and I want to just take a nap, I already earned it. I already busted my ass during the week. And so that's the difference, is if you haven't done the other things, then you can feel guilty about what you're not doing. But because you do those other things, that feels like a celebration.
100%. I will also tell people this device right here, this is one of those things that can be a blessing and a curse all at the same time, right? So it's a blessing if you look at it in the morning, you look at biblical promises or some positive, or listen to a positive podcast like Resurrecting Our Freedom, but can also be somewhat of a curse if the first thing you do is go on social media or watch the news on your phone. Then that same instrument can be an instrument of demise. Right. And the other thing that I learned a long time ago, which a mentor taught me, I do the same thing ironically as you do. I didn't know you did that, but I also do my affirmations at night. But one of the things I do is I shut my phone off 2 hours prior to bedtime, and I sit there and I write down all the things that I had on my agenda to do, which I did not do, which I put on to the next time, because then it takes it out of my brain. It's on a piece of paper. I know it's going to be there when I wake up in the morning. It's kind of a metaphor for
Clearing your mind.
Clearing your mind. So that way I can be in prayer and I can be in my positive affirmation state.
Oh, you know what? That's so funny because I don't do that. But I know if I wake up in the middle of the night and something's on my mind, I'll get up and I'll write it down because then I fall right to sleep. If I notice, man, I'm not sleeping, this thought keeps running out. So that's actually a great practice to do that before you go to bed. Now, I clear my mind spiritually. I do meditation, so I clear my mind spiritually. So I tend not to do that, but occasionally that happens. So, and writing it down is everything. So, we did this podcast off the cuff, as you might be able to tell, because we may have bounced around a little bit. However, if you do have the patience to watch through this, there's some really important tips. Mm-hmm. And if you're feeling any stress or anxiety, really it comes down to your daily rituals, your belief systems, your daily rituals, and how do you want to live? And that's really it. And you can ask that question, how do you want to live? Because in one hand, there's always going to be stress and stuff on the outside. Inner peace, spiritually grounded, having daily rituals, and creating the life that you want with intention. Man, how would you like to live like this? Because this one is easy to do. That default is easy. This is fulfilling. This gives you purpose. This life will be every day that you live your life. Because one day we're going to face the limitation of matter where we're going to pass out of this body. And at that moment, I choose to pass because I fulfilled a purpose, not from disease. We say, okay, I came here and did what I was supposed to do. I'm done. And whether I ascend out of the body, whether I just lay that physical body down and let the physical body pass, and then exit the body and go back into the eternal consciousness, it's not going to be because of disease. It's not going to be because of trauma. It's not going to be anything other than I did it and I'm done.
So what you're saying is you choose life and you choose blessing.
There you go. Thank you. And gratitude.
And gratitude. Guys, I'm going to say one thing to our viewers. I hope that not only do you watch these to the entirety of the podcast, but share it, please, because we're looking at 60-something years of being in combined years, of being in a lifestyle and in a practice, being a doctor of lifestyle, a doctor of wellness, a doctor of wholeness. And so we spend our lives digging into some of these issues which are plaguing humanity. So if these podcasts, sometimes they can be kind of spontaneous, but I really think that out of that spontaneity, God's speaking through us. And I think today God spoke through us.
Thank you. Peace, share, comment.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell, subscribe, and we love you.